How can you not be in a good mood today? It's 53 degrees outside. It's the second to last day of February. Oh, wait, it's a leap year. It's the third to last day of February. Spring is around the corner. Everybody should be smiling today. I know I am. We got a lot to do this afternoon. Joe Shane met the media, offered us some insight about Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. He was also confronted by an angry fan. We'll listen to that later. And we'll mix in some baseball as the show rolls on. We'll talk some Knicks. Jerry Ferraro will hang out with us later on. But, and I promise you, Tiki, there's no troll coming, I swear to you. Last night, you do not throw anything back. The New York Knicks won a basketball game. It doesn't matter how you did it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who you faced. It doesn't matter how bad the officiating was at the end. The Knicks won. No troll is coming. I want to make that very, very clear because I believe that as a sports fan, you never throw a win back.
Of course not.
So congratulations. With all of that said, I think we all realize that last night's wild ending, and it was as wild a 24 seconds as one could have. Well, I guess I could name a few. But it featured a horrific non-call. Mm-hmm. And so that's why you heard after the game Monty Williams, the head coach of the Detroit Pistons, losing his freaking mind. And it reminded every Knicks fan about what happened a few weeks earlier when they also got, quote-unquote, hosed in a game against the Houston Rockets. And I know that our buddy Keith McPherson said it last night. It feels like it's a makeup call. Whatever it is.
Makeup call?
I don't buy it, but I get it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not related.
They're not, but
different crew, different teams.
They're related in this regard. The Knicks lost the game in great part to horrible officiating, in which minutes after the game, via a pool reporter, the referee admitted they had done effed up. And then last night, the same thing happened. They won a game specifically because of bad officiating. And again, within an hour of the game ending, you heard James Williams, the official, say, hey, we screwed up. So we all know there was a screw-up. Mm-hmm. But it led me into a very intriguing debate that I had late last night and even earlier this morning. We spend so much time on this radio station bitching and moaning about officiating.
Yes.
I mean, it's probably the third most popular topic on this station after A-Rod and the current status of Daniel Jones.
Wait, what about Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. That's right. You know what? It's the fourth biggest thing on this station.
You're right.
So whether it's strike zones in baseball, whether it's bad calls in a no-hitter, whether it's illegal contacts that shouldn't have been called in the NFL, or it's what we saw last night, we spend so much time bitching about officiating.
Yes, we do.
And so I got into a heated argument with a bunch of buddies. I brought it on Twitter this morning, which is which of the four major sports has the worst officiating?
This is easy for me.
This is easy for you.
Very simple.
Go ahead.
And I'm not biased because I played the sport, but it's the NFL. Because in the NFL, with one or multiple bad officiating calls in a game, it can destroy your season. You can miss the postseason by being one game less than the team that made the wild card. And so if an official screws a game up, like what happened last night for the Pistons or what happened with the Knicks right before the All-Star break with the Houston Rockets, one loss can screw you in football. In basketball, it's like, all right, we got 20 more. We can get a makeup, according to Keith McPherson. We can get a makeup down the line for the Knicks. They'll be fine. It'll all even out. But in football, it is punitive, and it can cost games, and that can cost you postseason. That can cost you jobs. It costs so much in football, whereas in baseball and basketball and all these other sports, it's just one of a lot instead of one of 17.
I have to commend you because I didn't know Tiki Barber's opinion, and I stereotyped that because you're a broadcaster and you're a professional. I thought Tiki was going to put the shield in front of him and say, the NFL's great with officiating.
Oh, hell no, that's not. I mean, they've been terrible, right? I think they got these officials thinking too much, which, by the way, might be the answer with all the officiating issues we have across all the sports.
Yeah, I understand why you say what you say, and I think a lot of people may agree with you because the NFL only has 17 games.
Yes.
And so every game is just more important than the 82 regular season games one has, and I understand that being a factor. But as someone that watches the NBA all the time, and I love it, and I watch baseball all the time, I watch all these sports all the time, I got to tell you, I agree with the first thing you said and nothing after. The first thing you said was, this isn't close. And I agree with you. It's not close. Except it's not the NFL.
Well, what is it?
It's the NBA, dude. You know why? Let me tell you something about last night. And again, I promise you, I really mean this. I am not trolling anything about last night's game. The Knicks won a basketball game. You should not throw it back, okay? So don't take anything I'm saying as, oh, Evan's diminishing the win against the Pistons. F that, dude. You guys won. I don't care how ugly it was. There was no recourse to fixing what happened last night. And more times than not in the NBA, when the officials screw up, you don't have a chance to challenge it and fix it. While in the NFL, a lot of the things that are messed up, not all of them, but a lot of them can be fixed by replay. I feel like most of the time when I'm watching an NFL game, these days that is, and there's a bad call, it can be fixed.
Yeah, for a
There's
lot of
a way to save it.
It can be challenged.
There's
You're
less ability to do that in the NBA. And the other thing is,
well, they can. If you're wrong, it's just you don't get another one.
right, you kind of lose the ability to do it multiple times. Plus, what happened last night on that loose ball craziness is not a challengeable play. Like, you can't do anything about it. You know, with Tom Thibodeau a few weeks ago with the Rockets, and I brought this up at the time, if he had a challenge, he could have challenged it. It could have changed everything that happened in that game.
Yeah, he wasted a challenge early, right?
Yes,
yeah.
But more times than not in the NBA, you've got the officials impacting the game in a far greater way than they even do the NFL. Like, and that's not me defending NFL officials.
Yeah.
I just think they impact the game in a much more significant way.
You're right. And I think, to take what you're talking about, the ability to get it, or sometimes get it correct on an NFL field, the reason that you can is because it's a slow game. We feel like the NFL is fast and there's so much, stuff going on, and plays feel like they run right on top of each other. But there's really, there's 35, 40 seconds between each play. And so there's time to make a correction. Whereas in the NBA, it's constant motion, right? You can't just, that was a foul on that last play. Oh, sorry, they're dunking on the other end.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no time to adjudicate in the middle of plays. Whereas in basketball or in football, you have eons. There's not a ton of play time happening in the NFL. It's constant action in every other sport, except for baseball.
Right.
But baseball, the errors they're less. They're also able to be corrected, right? Because you can also challenge in baseball.
Not necessarily. Not balls and strikes. Because I think anybody that would argue Major League Baseball, and I'm sure there are some.
That's coming.
I think their biggest argument will be, balls and strikes. Every pitch that's thrown that is not swung at is impacted by an umpire decision.
True, but I also believe that the human error in baseball is somewhat acceptable, especially when it's balls and strikes. Because it's subjective.
Yeah.
Until they use technology, which they have, to get it right, just accept the subjectivity of the guy behind the dish.
I feel like when games are over in the NFL, games are over in the NBA, games are over in baseball, games are over in the NHL. I include hockey as well. I mean, Boober thinks they're out to screw the Rangers every time something bad happens. But I feel like the NBA, and it's not even close, you walk away from a game feeling, I'm not sure if that was on the up and up. And that makes me sick to say that because I love basketball. But more times than not, when there is bad officiating, you walk away wondering. And maybe that's because of the history. Maybe it's because of what's his name? What's that guy? Tim Donaghy. Because of what happened with Tim Donaghy. But I also think that they can take a star out of a game, which you really can't do in the NFL.
No.
If you put a star in foul trouble early, all of a sudden you've completely impacted the complexion of a game.
And that's very subjective.
And that is incredibly subjective. Incredibly. So I think there's a few factors that lead me to the NBA, and it's not even close. And it's not the recency bias of last night or the recency bias of a few weeks ago. It's the fact that they can change a game so dramatically by putting a star in foul trouble. And NBA coaches don't have that much recourse.
No.
They're given one challenge that if they get it right, great, starting this year, they get a second challenge, but they're always hesitant to use it because if, God forbid, they use it and they're wrong like Thibodeau was late first half against the Rockets a few weeks ago, you find yourself naked with no ability to use it later. And so I think the reason why you say the NFL, and even the majority of people may say the NFL, is twofold. Number one, football's more popular.
Yeah.
And number two, like you said at the top, every game feels bigger.
Yeah, but I also feel like in the NFL, the rules have changed a lot over the years. And maybe not all the rules have changed a lot, but the points of emphasis have changed each and every year. It's like, all right, we're going to emphasize pass interference this year. All right, we're going to emphasize defensive line holding this year. All right, we're going to emphasize illegal contact this year. And so as a result, when you're watching the games, you're like, all right, that was a legal contact a year ago. It's not this year, or guys always get away with holding Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Why are they not calling those things? It was maybe not emphasized at the officials meeting right before the Super Bowl started. So I think by and large, like the quality and consistency of NFL officiating is so all over the map, it makes it feel worse. And then when you combine that with the fact that you mess up a game, hell, once you get into the postseason, it's one game. Right? You mess up that game, your dream or destiny to the Super Bowl is shot and it's gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas in basketball, it just, all right, we lost. We got screwed in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Guess what? There's 6 more.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at last night and look at 3 weeks ago. It's one regular season NBA game. In the NFL, each game feels more important, but that doesn't make the referees more competent.
No, but you know what I mean? I do feel like the NFL referees are worse.
Where do you stand on this, Sean?
First of all, I think all officiating across all leagues sucks, so I want to get that out. This isn't an either-or. But I think you're both wrong. I think it's so blatantly obvious baseball.
Really? Baseball?
Hear me out for a second. Tiki's right on so many of his points on his one-game nature, but here's the truth. In football or basketball, if you go down the line, hockey, soccer, if on every single play an official was making a call, it'd be so blatantly obvious, stopping and all of that we give it a pass. Baseball, there has to be a call made on every single play. It's called balls and strikes. Yeah. And think about this. In basketball and football, the rules are the rules. We could argue whether a bad call is made on the rules. The idea that going into every game, whoever the home plate umpire is, both teams have to know, quote unquote, what that umpire's strike zone is outlandish. You're actually playing, in theory, by different rules every single game.
Yeah, but Sean, don't you doing that?
I was just saying, I haven't heard about a robotic umpire coming to football or basketball.
Well, because it's impossible. That's why.
Oh, I understand, but think about it. It's so bad that we have to go technology.
Yeah, what he's saying is that it's so inconsistent. I'm talking about the inconsistency in calls in the NFL, but balls and strikes are so inconsistent from official to official, game to game, maybe even, hell, inning to inning, that they're actually contemplating and have tested in the minor leagues robot umpires just to make sure that call.
Yeah, but I think the reason for that is, how would you have robot officials in an NBA game? Like, how would that even be possible? How would a robot be able to call the big ragu for a foul last
night?
How does that happen?
Honestly, I think it would be easy. I think AI would be very easy with the camera angles and the attention to detail.
Eye in the sky.
At the eye in the sky.
Yeah, but that's basically using cameras for replay. That's not using robots.
Well, no. I think the processing power is so fast that it could happen in real time.
Oh, jeez.
I really
that
do.
world.
Imagine that world. Do think it could happen in real
AI
time.
into an earpiece on the actual human body's efficient. That's a foul call.
Absolutely.
Well,
the video shows this is a hand check or whatever the heck it may be. This was a hip check. Big Ragu trying his best to be Matt Rimpey out there. Right? This is a foul. Buzz it. And so he blow the whistle, gets the call in his ear. He calls. I mean, you could do it.
Jeez.
It's just, I don't think we want that kind of technological interference in games.
Well, you know what we want? We want calls to be right. That's what we want. And, if you look at all the major sports, have they gotten better because of the advent of instant replay? Absolutely. There are some calls they're able to fix.
Of course.
In the NFL, the NBA, even baseball now. The thing about baseball is that the out and safe call at first base, we don't have to worry about it anymore.
It's always going to be right.
Because they're always, for the most part, going to get it right when they look it over. And as far as your point's concerned about, you've got a game plan for a different umpire based on the strike zone, can't you say the same in the NBA and the NFL? This official calls more holds. This official's going to more so let them play on potential pass interferences and defensive holds. And same thing in the NBA. Hey, these officials are going to mostly let them play. You could argue that's the case in every sport.
I mean, yes and no, you can. However, rules are rules. What I'm telling you is quite literally the rules that are written in baseball vary from umpire to umpire. And also, I think in the NBA and the NFL, there are make-goods. There are a realization that, hey, we might have screwed this one up. A make-good call. It's hard to have a make-good call. The baseball umpires seem more stubborn than anybody.
That's a good point, because I had a game this past year where Mike Evans got interfered with, interception going the other way. The team scored a touchdown a couple plays later. The next drive, The very next drive, there were two illegal contact and a pass interference.
Right.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers scored in like 6 plays. It felt so much like a make good.
I remember that,
because they
actually,
really screwed up the pass interference on Mike Evans, which resulted in an interception.
This argument won't help me against Tiki because I think the NBA's got worse officials than the NFL, but it will help against Sean, and that is use the FAN test. How many times on this radio station are we bitching about MLB umpires versus NFL referees and NBA referees? I feel like it's far less.
I think it is.
I think you're right.
Thank you.
However, my point would be I think we've given up with baseball.
Oh, we're just giving up?
I think we've given up because it's just so many, it's so subjective, it's balls and strikes that we've given up. It's not as sexy also to argue that on the radio.
No, I think when Aaron Judge strikes out on a ball that's clearly below his knees and it costs the Yankees because there are guys on base, I think people are going to care.
Yeah, true. But it's also that could happen and the Yankees still win the game. And so,
true.
Like, we don't necessarily care. All right, sure, he struck out. He shouldn't have.
Yeah, but wait a
His
second.
average is going to go down 2 points.
But that's the case in every sporting event. Like, if the Knicks would have lost, well, that's not a good example, the Rocket game. If the Knicks would have won the game and overcome an atrocious call, we wouldn't, of course it wouldn't have been as big of a deal. It's like anything in life. If the Jets won the Kansas City game, we wouldn't have gone nuts about some of the penalties that were called down the stretch against the Jet defense.
Yes.
So obviously wins and losses will somehow erase what you saw in a game. But at the end of the day, like, we as fans end up bitching so much about officials and the way they impact games. We do it all the time. So it's not like it just disappears.
No.
If you lose, you're going to bitch more than if you win, of course.
Yeah, and I thought, Monty was interesting after the game because I couldn't see what the media scrum looked like, but I feel like he walked in and there was no media there.
Well, he was calling out the New York media. Do you have that clip ready?
But
Monty Williams, the head coach of the Detroit Pistons, after the game went scorched earth on the officials.
But the point is, was all the media there?
Well,
I don't know. I don't know.
I think the New York media didn't give a rat's ass what Monty Williams has to say.
I agree.
They're more concerned about Tom Thibodeau. I don't care about what Monty has to say, but here's what he said after the game when the Knicks got the benefit of a no call.
Where's the New York media now? The absolute worst call of the season. No call. And enough's enough. We've done it the right way. We've called the league. We've sent in clips. We're sick of hearing the same stuff over and over again. We had a chance to win the game, and the guy dove into Asar's legs, and there was a no call. That's an abomination. You cannot miss that in an NBA game, period. And I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of our guys asking me, what more can we do, coach? That situation is Exhibit A to what we've been dealing with all season long, and enough's enough. You cannot dive into a guy's legs in a big-time game like that and there be a no call.
Big-time game.
It's ridiculous, and we're tired of it. We just want a fair game
That's
called.
it. We just want a fair game.
Period.
Period.
And I got nothing else to say. We want a fair game,
And then he
that was
leaves.
not fair.
And then he leaves.
I'm done.
That's my favorite press conference. And by the way, this is more proof I'm right. It's the NBA. Have you ever heard a press conference like that from an NFL head coach or an MLB manager?
Where he gets up and is like, I'm out.
Where he literally says, we want a fair game, this is BS, and storms out of the press conference.
No, you don't. The closest one was Mike Tomlin when he got asked about whether or not he was going to be back or something after, I forget what it was.
Right. Well, we've seen guys storm out, but not over this. Like, that kind of vitriol and anger, I think you only see that from NBA head coaches.
And by the way, that wasn't a, go ahead.
Finish your point.
Yeah, by the way, that wasn't a win-loss thing. It was they were in the playoffs, and people are asking him if he's going to get fired.
Had nothing to do with the officials.
And that was a question.
Right.
So he was asked a question that pissed him off. This was Monty just going in with a prepared statement, basically, even though he didn't write it, and then walk it out.
No, it was an all-time rant. It was a good
really
WWE promo.
Go ahead.
As long as we're on this, we have Nick's injury update ahead of tonight.
Okay.
Jalen Brunson with cervical spasms in his neck.
What?
And Isaiah Hartenstein with left Achilles tendinopathy are questionable tonight versus the Pelicans.
What the hell is the Brunson thing?
Tendinopathy.
Jalen Brunson apparently has cervical spasms in his neck.
What is that, Tiki?
I have never heard of a cervical. I mean, I guess I can speculate what it is. It's just you have spasms around your spine. But how that happens doesn't make sense to me.
That's strange.
Are these made-up injuries to say this is load management for Tibbs?
I mean, by the way, that's not crazy. They do play a back-to-back tonight. Obviously, they're taking on the Pelicans. I'll be in the building.
Yes.
So.
A cervical muscular spasm is a sudden involuntary contraction of muscle in the neck in response to strain, overuse, weakness, or trauma. Yeah, this is a maintenance day.
It's a tummy ache.
Okay,
Yes.
so there's a key here. I hear neck, I get very, very nervous. We know about what Daniel Jones has gone through. If it is a maintenance day, that's a different discussion. It's a different topic, and I kind of get it. But when I hear neck, like a neck thing is scary.
Yeah, it does.
So,
well, as long as it's not structural.
yeah.
Right? If this seems like it's muscular as opposed to structural, like bones or tendons related, so I'm not that worried about it. But I mean, I just never heard
No.
cervical muscular
Came out of nowhere.
spasm.
We'll try to dive in and find out more information. We'll get to your calls coming up. Which sport has the worst officiating? Tiki thinks it's the NFL, which I was surprised he said. I think it's the NBA, and it's not recency bias off last night. I watch enough basketball to know they mostly suck at their jobs. Sean thinks it's baseball. What do you think, Loogie? Are you a hoop guy that it's the worst?
I think the NBA officiating gets the most criticism. I think NFL is the worst.
Interesting. We'll get your calls coming up. Plus, I'll tell you what the people said on social media when I polled it at 877-337-6666. And coming up in about an hour, I'm very excited about this. It's like a little baby. And if it fails, it fails. I own it. A brand new segment in which we go through old tweets of WFAN coworkers and Tiki guesses who posted it in a brand new segment we like to call Posted and Toasted. That.